Hey folks, Stewart here from Drone Film Guide, the channel where we learn to fly like filmmakers, out with the DJI Mini 2. So, we don't have intelligent flight modes on this drone, but we do have... I'm out of breath already. I'm doing this introduction now because I'm about to walk up that and I'm out of breath already. We don't have intelligent flight modes on this drone, but we do have Quickshots, and I've always maintained that they are an excellent way of getting cinematic footage, especially when you're filming yourself. So I'm going to get myself up that hill and see what we can achieve. Stay tuned. I'm absolutely shattered. I always think these kind of climbs look so easy from down there somewhere. Even though we don't get full-on active track, the Quickshots clearly employ subject tracking, as you can see here. Now this is before we've pressed record, and I'm diving about, and you can see that the DJI Fly app is tracking the subject that I have selected by drawing a box around myself. Now when we hit the start button, and here you can see the Quickshot has initiated, in this case a helix, it continues to track me. That's me looking up to see if the drone is there, as you can see, but as I walk it is tracking me, which is really cool. Now once I'm really small it loses the track and there's a tiny little glitch in the footage there, but it actually works for us because the attention is taken away from me and then to the landscape, so we have this multifaceted helix move that is a really great storytelling shot. If we look at the final shot here, now that the controller is out of sight, we can bring in the cinematic widescreen bars. I added a little bit of post-production stabilization to smooth out the point at which the subject tracking broke, essentially, but the result is absolutely spectacular. You need to set a manual exposure and you need to lock it so it doesn't change mid-shot. Now in this case the histogram tells us we've got a fairly well exposed balanced shot, but you can see that the whites in that image are completely blown out. Tap on the little EV compensation indicator and in many cases dial it down to -1 or thereabouts. You've got to protect those highlights. Once you have done so, tap on the little lock button to make sure that your exposure does not change mid-shot. It can look a little bit amateurish when it does so. If there's not too much movement in your shot, then reverse the quick shot. The new rocket is absolutely fantastic. Instead of just flying the thing up in the air and just doing some silly kind of selfie, look at this, we're coming down. The subject, me in this case, is being held in the center of the frame, and because we have the new version of the quick shot, the gimbal is tilting up to reveal the location where I am sitting. It is absolutely epic. Use the correct settings. Now first up we're going to get this into 4K. The Quickshot is default to 1080p, which is a little bit confusing if you're shooting 4K already, but we get that into 4K. Now next up we need to set a manual white balance. We don't want that changing mid-shot. Much like the exposure, it can look a bit amateurish if it changes mid-shot. So we set a manual white balance. 5500 is good for daylight, maybe 6500 for dusky conditions. This original Helix Quickshot was 30 seconds long. Now no one wants to watch a 30-second shot, so we're going to speed up this section in the middle. Round it goes and we get to the end point, the big reveal of where I was standing. Pretty easy to do in any software. In this case we're in Final Cut Pro with the clip selected. Press Shift and B somewhere at the start and we do the same towards the end, thereby selecting the middle of the clip that we can then retime. In this case we're going to click on that little down arrow and speed it up 20 times. Bish bash bosh, we are good to go, and we've created a much more interesting, much more engaging version of that Helix. You don't have to present your entire 30-second quick shot to your audience. Now you're watching me walk along the beach, but as time passes, we see the sun flares come in, our attention is shifted to the landscape. It's a storytelling shot as our eye passes through the frame just by using the tail end of that clip. It's possible I've missed something, so please let me know in the comments if I have, but from what I can tell you can only shoot your quick shots in 30 frames per second, which is a little bit annoying. If I was in an NTSC region I'd shoot 24, and in Europe here I'd shoot 25, so let's slow it down a little bit so we get a slightly more cinematic result. In this case we select the clip, you can see it's shot at 29.97 frames per second. So let's slow it down to 80% of speed and that will give us a 24 frames per second clip. And if we're in Europe, we can get a decentish result if we slow it down to 83%. It's not entirely desirable, but we've got to make do with what we're given, and it's worth doing. You also get quite a nice little bit of a slow motion effect, and it's just a little bit more cinematic. So there you go, folks, it's what you do with it that counts. The DJI Mini 2 is a fantastic cinematic drone, and those Quickshots are lovely. So grab yourself a copy of our free ebook From Drone Zero to Drone Hero, 37 tips to get you flying like a filmmaker, if you haven't done so already, and do check out our premium courses. Until next time, happy flying.